There is a wood in North America that can outlast concrete. Fence posts buried in the 1800s are still standing today. No chemicals, no pressure treatment, no maintenance, just wood, sitting in the soil, refusing to rot. And yet almost no one uses it anymore. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? And what's the number one thing you wish lasted longer on your homestead fence posts? Raised beds, decking, tool handles. Today, I'm going to show you what this wood is, why it built early America, why shipbuilders trusted it in wartime, why permaculture designers quietly love it, and why the modern lumber industry largely stopped promoting it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this tree can last 80 to 100 years in the ground, how it actually improves soil while it grows, why it's both loved and controversial, and how you can use it safely in your own self-sufficient garden. And near the end, I'll explain the one reason this tree both saved farms and got labeled a problem species in many regions. Let's open this vault. If you've gardened more than a few years, you've felt it. Fence posts rot faster than you expected. Raised beds collapse. Deck boards warp. You replace things again and again. And if you're over 40, 50, 60, rebuilding the same structures every 10 to 15 years isn't just expensive, it's exhausting. Meanwhile, lumber prices spike. Supply chains wobble. Chemical treatments change. Products get rebranded. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if there was a wood that naturally lasts 50 to 100 years in soil, and we simply stopped using it at scale? In early America, settlers desperately needed durable wood. They were building cabins, fences, ships, barns, and they discovered something remarkable. In Jamestown's early years, black locust posts were used in construction. Decades later, observers reported that those posts remained sound, even after long exposure to soil and weather. This wood is harder than conker. That's not marketing copy, that's historical observation. And here's the part that matters for gardeners. This tree doesn't just provide long-lasting wood, it improves soil as it grows, and that changes everything for anyone interested in food security. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what this tree actually is. The tree we're talking about is black locust, Robinia, native to parts of the eastern United States, particularly the Appalachian and Ozark regions. It has been widely planted across North America and Europe. Important clarification, black locust is not the same as honey locust. They are different species. Black locust has compound leaves, paired thorns at the base of leaf stems, and fragrant white flower clusters in late spring. Now here's the scientifically verified part. Black locust is one of the most rot-resistant temperate hardwoods in North America. The U.S. Forest Service has documented its exceptional decay resistance. Its heartwood contains natural compounds that resist fungal attack. It is consistently ranked among the most durable domestic woods for ground contact. On the Jenga hardness scale, black locust is harder than white oak. That's not hype. That's mechanical testing. It also has very high compressive strength for a wood species. One reason it was historically used for shipbuilding components and structural pins. This wood is harder than conker, and unlike pressure-treated pine, black locust does not require chemical treatment to achieve that durability. No chromium, no arsenic, no copper azel, just wood. But durability is only half the story. During the late 1700s and early 1800s, wooden ships were held together using wooden pegs called trunnels, often pronounced treenails. Black locust was prized for this purpose. Why? Because when it gets wet, it swells. That swelling tightened joints between planks, creating strong structural bonds. It also resisted rot in the damp, punishing marine environment far better than many other hardwoods. This wood is harder than conker. American shipbuilders used black locust extensively for treenails and structural components. British shipbuilders eventually imported black locusts from America for similar uses. This wood is harder than conker. This was not a decorative wood. This was survival material. Now pause and think about that. If shipbuilders trusted it in saltwater, one of the most destructive environments for wood, what does that mean for your garden fence? It means properly harvested heartwood black locust posts can last decades in soil, often far longer than untreated pine or spruce. But here's something important. Durability depends heavily on using heartwood, not sapwood. The inner dark wood is what carries the highest decay resistance. The outer pale sapwood is much less durable. That detail matters if you ever source locust posts locally. Now let's talk about something gardeners rarely hear. Black locust is part of the legume family. That means it forms symbiotic relationships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria in its root nodules. In simple terms, it pulls nitrogen from the air and converts it into forms usable in soil. Multiple forestry studies have shown that black locust can increase soil nitrogen levels compared to surrounding areas. This makes it valuable for reclaiming degraded land, stabilizing slopes, and restoring poor soils. In fact, black locust has been widely used in Europe and parts of the U.S. for land reclamation projects, especially on mined spoils and eroded land. Now, let's be clear, it does not magically replace all fertilizer needs in a vegetable garden, but in agroforestry systems and permaculture design, it can serve as a nurse tree, improving soil conditions for future plantings. And here's something else. Its roots grow deep, very deep. that allows it to access water during drought periods when shallow-rooted plants struggle. For anyone worried about climate instability, that's not a trivial trait. But now we need to address something critical, because black locust is both helpful and controversial. Black locust spreads aggressively. It reproduces by seed. It also spreads through root suckers, meaning if you cut one down, multiple shoots may emerge from the roots. In some regions, especially outside its native range, it is considered invasive. That means it can outcompete native vegetation and alter ecosystems. Several U.S. states and European countries classify it as invasive or problematic in certain habitats. So here's the responsible gardening advice. Do not plant black locust casually. Research your state or country's classification first. If you live in its native Appalachian range, ecological impact is different than in prairie systems or Europe. If you do plant it, consider using it in managed woodlots. Harvest aggressively to prevent uncontrolled spread. Avoid planting near natural preserves. Be aware it can be difficult to remove once established. Also, important safety note, black locust bark, leaves, and seeds contain toxic compounds. They are not edible. Livestock can be poisoned if they consume significant amounts of bark or foliage. The flowers, however, are edible in small amounts and traditionally used in fritters, but always confirm plant identification and local safety guidance before consuming any wild plant. Now that we've covered the risks responsibly, let's return to the mystery. If it lasts longer, improves soil, and grows on poor land, why did it fade from mainstream lumberyards? In the early 20th century, pressure treatment technology expanded. Chromated copper arsenate (CCA) became widely used to treat softwoods like pine, extending their lifespan in outdoor conditions. This wood is harder than conker. This allowed fast-growing pine to compete with naturally durable hardwoods. By mid-century, treated lumber became standardized and widely distributed through large suppliers. Black locust presented several logistical challenges. It often grows crooked, making milling more difficult. It has tension wood that can warp if improperly dried. It can check or split during drying. It is extremely hard on saw blades. The locust borer insect can damage standing trees. Industrial lumber systems favor uniformity. Pine plantations provide that. Black locust does not. So supply chains shifted toward treated and when big box stores standardized inventory, black locust became harder to source, which reduced demand, which reduced supply further. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's industrial economics. Uniformity scales better than resilience, but in places like Hungary, black locust became a major forestry species. It covers large areas and is widely used for posts, firewood, and timber products. Different economic models, different outcomes, and this leads to a powerful lesson for gardeners. If you're building a long-term homestead system, here are practical uses. Fence posts, garden trellises, raised bed corners, tool handles, outdoor furniture, small bridges or decking. If sourcing locally, look for dense dark heartwood, minimal sapwood, air-dried properly for seniors or lazy gardeners. Here's the strategy. Plant a small managed stand on marginal land. Space trees 6 to 8 feet apart. Harvest poles at 8 to 15 years depending on diameter. Needs let regrowth occur from root suckers. You can maintain a sustainable supply of posts without replanting every cycle, but again, manage it intentionally. Don't let it escape into wild areas. And if planting feels overwhelming, start smaller. Source local locust posts from a small sawmill instead of treated lumber for your next fence repair, one swap at a time. And now, let's talk about the deeper lesson. Modern systems often prioritize repeat sales over longevity, disposable products over generational durability. Black locust challenges that model. A fence post that lasts 60 to 100 years doesn't generate frequent replacement sales, but it does generate stability. And for gardeners thinking long-term about grandchildren, about food resilience, about aging bodies, durability matters more than trend. There's something psychologically grounding about building with materials that outlive you. Your great-grandfather's fence post still standing? Your orchard anchored in nitrogen-enriched soil? Your trellis not collapsing every decade? That's not nostalgia, that's design thinking for instability. And now we close the loop I opened earlier. Black locust is both a solution and a responsibility. It is one of the most ultra-resistant native hardwoods in North America. It naturally resists decay without chemical treatment. It improves soil through nitrogen fixation. It grows on poor land. It copioces, meaning it regrows after cutting. But it can spread aggressively. It can be invasive in certain ecosystems. It must be managed wisely. So if you forget everything else from today, remember this. Plant for permanence. Design for your future self with a sore back. Choose materials that don't need replacing every 15 years. And always research the ecological impact before planting anything powerful. Your small step today. Call one local sawmill this week and ask, do you carry black locust posts? Just ask. Curiosity is how knowledge comes back. If this video helped you think differently about durability and soil resilience, tap like so more gardeners can see it. Subscribe for more forgotten survival trees, famine crops, and plant one's harvest for decades systems. And tell me in the comments, would you plant black locust or just use the wood. And what country are you watching from? Next, I'm considering doing a deep dive on 7 perennial famine foods that grow in plain sight. Comment perennial if you want that. The strength was always here. Sometimes we just have to look back to move forward.